NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis recently participated in an Ask Me Anything session on Reddit. The new NWA champion has yet to defend the belt since defeating former champion Tim Storm at a Combat Zone Wrestling event in December, but he and his new manager, Austin Idol, have let promoters around the globe know that they are open for business. Now, just before we look at some of the highlights of Nick Aldis's Ask Me Anything session, I do want to remind everyone that if you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and tick the bell so you don't miss any more news and reports about Billy Corgan's National Wrestling Alliance. Okay, so the first question that was asked to Aldis, well, the first question we found interesting enough to bring up, was somebody asked what his experience was working with Vince Russo in TNA. Aldis said, "Some good, some not so good, like everyone. I like Vince personally and think overall he gets an unfair amount of criticism based on the success he's had." Aldis, if you remember, was in TNA wrestling as Magnus for a good chunk of time that Vince Russo was on the booking team there. Like many of you, I was avoiding TNA during this period, so I don't have much to add. Then a very standard question for this type of session. A user on Reddit says, "What was your favorite opponent to work with?" Felt this was interesting. He said, hard to narrow it down to one, but top 5, Bram gets first mention. Interesting. Bram, longtime TNA wrestler. Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy. No surprises with those 3. And then Doug Williams, who he broke into TNA with. They were on the Team England. They were Team England, I think they were called, when the X Division was sort of an international competition. Actually, there were times where TNA was pretty good. And back in its early history, in its earlier days, the X Division was really good. Some of you will remember Jerry Lynn, Low-Key, and AJ Styles were like the 3 top X Division guys. And then they brought the X Division to where there was a Team Canada, Team Mexico, Team United States. It was actually fairly decent. Here, a Reddit user asks if Aldis could recommend one match to someone who's never seen them wrestle. What would it be? And he says Jeff Hardy from a TNA One Night Only pay-per-view, the Rivals pay-per-view. Interesting choice. Never seen it. Another interesting question. This user asked, who has Nick Aldis learned from the most in his career? Aldis answers, hard to narrow it down to one person, but Kevin Nash, Sting, Samoa Joe, Doug Williams, Dave Lagana, hey, well, kind of sucking up to his new boss, Keith Mitchell, to name a few. So some interesting veterans in there. Doug Williams, obviously, he has his career has gone alongside. Dave Lagana, now working on the 10 Pounds of Gold documentaries for Billy Corgan's NWA. And then a Reddit user who goes by the awesome/awful name Psycho Sid Softball, I kind of like that actually, was saying the NWA died in like 1991, let it be. And Aldis responds, my God. Well, I don't think he said it like that. Why didn't anyone tell us? Obviously, based on this message and your name, you've not checked out any of 10 Pounds of Gold due to your hectic softball schedule. Well, we all know Psycho Sid does like to keep a hectic softball schedule. I'm not altogether certain that this was Psycho Sid posting this question to Nick Aldis. This user asks if there's any fun Samoa Joe stories, and asked specifically about the Aces and Eights funeral and having to do reshoots because everyone was laughing. I actually did see that funeral. I haven't seen a lot of Impact, but lots of fun stories. Not many I can share. Funeral story is true, though. I'd forgotten about that until you mentioned it. This user asks Aldis if he misses the sweet name Brutus Magnus. And he answers with never for even a fleeting moment, a Dixie Carter creation. Ooh. And finally, this user simply asked, what does Nick Aldis being champion mean for the future of the NWA? Aldis says it means growth, it means prestige, and it means a mountaintop for someone to step up and climb. So, Nick Aldis, NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Those were his Ask Me Anything highlights. The NWA continues to grow under Billy Corgan's ownership. You can check out their YouTube channel. I think it's just youtube.com/NWA. And we will be giving reports and updates on all the storylines going on there. I'm the Eye Guy from Spoiler Free Wrestling.